Hi, I'm Alan of the Best House Sitters YouTube channel, and my wife is doing, Ina is doing the recording of this video.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you questions, Alan. How was your winter? What kind of trips did you have this past winter?
Well, the first trip was kind of surprising. It was in early November, and a house sit request came up on one of the sites for Boquete, Panama, which is one of my favorite places in the whole world. I've been there a couple times. It's up in the mountains of Panama, in the western part of Panama, and if you're there in the summer, it keeps it from being too hot. Like if you're down on the ocean, it's much hotter. So Boquete is ideal because it's in the mountains and cooler and nice. So this is early November, this sit,
For how long?
and it was for 2 weeks, and it was a very unique place. It was a bed and breakfast called the Boquete Cliff House, and it's right on the cliff overlooking the river valley that Boquete sets in. Very scenic, very beautiful. I would have never dreamed to be in such a wonderful house. They have a huge patio that you walk along, and you're looking down at the river flowing down through the valley. And it happened to be rainy when I was there. It was the rainy season, but it was extra rainy, and the river was really flowing, and there were many days when I kind of couldn't go out and do too many things. But the area is really nice, and there's many restaurants, many expatriates there, a lot of English speaking for those folks like myself, who can't speak Spanish. I know some Spanish words, and I get along pretty good. But that was quite an amazing house sit request, and I jumped on it, requested it, and was able to get it quickly.
So, what kind of responsibility did you have at that time?
Well, normally they have guests there at their bed and breakfast, and so I would have been serving the breakfast, putting that out, and taking care of any requests that the guests might have. But there are a couple guests that they were going to have canceled because of the rain, and so it wasn't the best time weather-wise to be there, but I enjoyed it. So no, I had no real responsibilities.
Did you have any pets? Did you watch any?
No, they don't. They didn't have any pets. They have a neighborhood dog that they put a little food out for, but it's not their dog.
So, how did you spend your time during this rainy season?
I did a lot of reading, and I would sit out on their patio and look over the valley and look down at the beautiful view and read and just relax out there. But when it was raining, of course, I just sat inside, maybe watch videos and things.
Any social activities?
Yeah, I looked up because I wanted to go on the first Sunday that I was there. I wanted to find an English-speaking fellowship. So there's one called Boquete Bible Fellowship that is English-speaking, and it's mostly expatriates that attend there. And I had a great time, worshiping with them and getting to know some of those people.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about people over there, those expats. Who are they? What kind of friends or people you met?
Yeah, most of them are retirees, and they're extremely friendly. They love to welcome new people that are visiting or that may be wanting to live there. And no, they were very friendly and nice. So I met a couple, and they invited me to lunch after the service, and we went to one of their favorite places, and that was great.
You mentioned about the dog that was street dog. Do they have many homeless dogs, street dogs?
There are a few down in town. We were up in the mountains, away from the actual town. This dog was it. It lives probably with the indigenous people that have an encampment fairly close to these houses up in the mountains. So there's a group of the indigenous Panamanians that that were there.
How big was the community of expats around you? So was it rural area or more like town?
It was a rural area, but I met there was an expat community right on our little street on the top of a mountain ridge, and they invited me over to dinner one of the first nights to welcome me as a friend of the homeowners. And no, they have a pretty nice group that get together there, do things. Yeah.
So what was the logistic? How did you get to the place where it is located?
Well, in the western part of Panama, the town of Boquete is up in the Chiriquí province, and the big capital of Chiriquí is David. And David is the second biggest city in Panama, much smaller than Panama City. Everything is smaller than that. But so I flew in from Panama City into David. Those are very inexpensive flights, about $100. You're going pretty much the whole length of Panama for $100 round trip, and so that was very convenient. And they sent their preferred taxi man, to come get me. They go right to the airport and they're waiting for you, knowing your flight, and it was quite reasonable too. If I remember right, a 40-minute trip was $50 taxi cost, and it was good that he was a local up there in Boquete, because the rain had caused some roads to be kind of out or blocked with falling, mud and stuff. So he went a different road and got me to the house, and that was kind of interesting.
Would you rate this Housesit on the scale from 1 to 10, when 10 is the best one and 1 is less attractive?
It would have been a 10 if the weather cooperated, but because it was so rainy, I'll just say 9. But it had nothing to do with the homeowner. They did wonderfully, and it was a wonderful visit. I would have liked to have seen some of their guests, if they had some booked, and to associate with them and help them. They also provided their vehicle for me to drive down into town, go shopping and look around. So it was amazing. No, I'll just say it was a 10, because really, the weather just happened.
So if these people would want you to come back one day, would you go?
Without any doubt, I would go, and it wouldn't matter what time of year, because it's wonderful there all year long. And I know they would want me to come back. They will be asking for me to come back, and I will certainly want to go back. This is my house carer's profile, where the lady that I sat for in Boquete, she advertised on this site. So I applied on house carers, and she chose me. And this is the profile for Ina and myself on house carers. Alan is the best. Alan, an experienced house sitter, is in higher demand than many others, but if you are able to get him to sit for you, you will not be disappointed. It was stormy most of the time he was here in the highlands of Panama, and he never once complained. In fact, he seemed to enjoy himself. He kept in touch while we were away, left the house looking tidy, and even replaced a switch plate which was cracked. I highly recommend him.